Thank you to these companies and organizations that make the Before I Die New Mexico Festival possible. A good goodbye. Gail Rubin puts the fun in funeral planning. Compassion and choices, improving care, expanding options, and empowering everyone to chart their end-of-life journey. Daniel's Family Funerals and Cremations, Fairview Memorial Park, Gabaldon Mortuary, Sandia Memory Gardens, and Vista Verde Memorial Park, all in the Albuquerque area. Estate Pros, offering professional dispersal of personal possessions due to a move, illness, or death. The Final Exit Network, educating about and defending the right to choose at end of life. French Funerals and Cremations and Sunset Memorial Park in Albuquerque. Gathering Us, providing in-person and virtual memorial services and online memorial pages. Keeper, providing hybrid and virtual memorial services and keeping memories alive with online tributes to preserve, celebrate, and share life legacies. Morris Hall, estate planning attorneys in New Mexico and Arizona. Remembering a Life, your guide to honoring a life well lived, from planning a tribute to mourning a loved one. And Retirement Extender, investment management services with a personalized strategy recommendation based on your needs and objectives. Welcome to this session. I am so excited to be having a conversation with my friend Tammy Holmes, renowned psychic. I first met Tammy when we did a One Day Before I Die Bakersfield, California event at a funeral home and cemetery. Tammy's got a connection to Bakersfield, and we actually did an event where she was paired with a paranormal investigator. But this time we have 90 minutes with Tammy all to ourselves. Tammy is a renowned psychic and author and speaker. She wrote this book, Remembering One Once Again, which is actually channeling wisdom from the great beyond, and we can talk about that in a little bit. She was featured in People magazine, did a story about her when she was called upon by local police in Phoenix to find a body in the desert, and she did that. And she has coached and done readings for more than 30,000 clients since 1996. So very excited to have here with us Tammy Holmes. Hello, Tammy.
Great. Hello, Gail.
Hello, Tammy. So can you give people an idea of how do you do what you do?
Well, I've had this my whole life. So I actually didn't want to do readings. I wanted nothing to do with psychic stuff, okay? I was not convinced this is what I wanted to do, but I've had this since I was a child. I thought everybody had it. I was actually born inside the cull, which is a sign that you got psychic abilities.
And that is when you're born, it's wrapped
inside the afterbirth.
The afterbirth was wrapped around your body.
I was inside the afterbirth. I was a twin that shouldn't have been there or was supposed to be there. So they didn't know that there was a second baby.
Wow.
And they thought the afterbirth came out and I was actually inside of it.
Wow.
Yeah. And my brother was 3 pounds. I was 2 pounds. We weren't even supposed to make it in 1960, but we did. But I was born with this and I thought it's natural and everybody had it. It was like I could see, feel, touch, hear. I just knew things, but I would wake up in the middle of the night and there was angels on my bed every night and I'd be talking to them. So my sister actually asked to move out of the bedroom. She got tired of being awake. But these angels were so enlightened and beautiful. They were my friends. But as I got older and I became very spiritual in my early 30s and started meditating, and everything came back again. And then the readings came a little bit later, and I actually fought it because I didn't want to do that. I'm like, I don't want to be a psychic. This is not anything I plan to do. And they kept telling me it's not about you. We want to communicate love through you. Can you get out of the way? And that kind of pissed me off in the beginning, you know. But I ended up honoring it when I realized how it was helping people. It was helping me too. So when you help someone, when you give, you receive. It's quite lovely. And then, you know, my teacher was Marianne Williamson, who I had for 10 years. And so she taught me how to meditate and how to show up. And she always said, Tammy, and I always talk like this, so I hope it's okay. But she said, when you get with your clients, you leave your shit at the door and you show up and you take care of your clients. And it made me a better person. And I think that's why I continued doing readings. And then it was like there was lines of people. And I'm like, a lot of people needed help. And I don't know how it works because it's like it's in me and it's like watching a movie and it's like there is no time. And a lot of times I forget, most of the time I forget what I tell people.
Wow.
Because I can't remember what I tell everybody. And until I get back in the reading, then I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this person. But I actually don't, it's like I'm there and not there at the same time. I can't explain it.
So do you record them when you're doing the
I
reading?
record them because everyone's like a deer in headlights. So as soon as I start, they're like gone themselves and they don't even know what to say or do. And so I do record all the sessions and I email them to them afterwards because I learned that, and I tell them this too, not every recording records. Sometimes I sound like a chick mom. So when that happens, when that happens, I tell them you're not supposed to hear it again. So I do give a disclaimer, you know, that every now and then there's going to be one that may not come out correctly, and it's spirit. So
because spirits have electrical.
They have all that.
Yeah.
They're smarter than we are. Okay. So when I give messages, I tell them this is coming from something more than me. And there's a debate with some psychics, and I didn't know this was a fact, but some psychics don't feel that they should give messages if somebody wants to know when they're going to die, or if there's something coming in, or somebody's going to get ready to transition. They feel that they should hold that back, and I feel that's inappropriate. I feel if the message is coming to me, they're smarter than me. I'm going to give the message because a lot of times they want you to spend time with that person before they go. And that happens a lot. Of people thank me. Thank you for telling me I should have flew home because my dad died a week later, you know?
Wow.
So when I give messages, and I've had somebody, I'll give an example. I know this is coming in, but it was mind blowing. I did a group reading. This was about 10 years ago for like 60 people. Okay. And their leader was there. He was a psychologist and he was their actual leader in this group. Okay. I didn't directly know because when I go in, it's like a trance. And I looked at him and I said, you're going to go in a year. They wanted him to know that he was going to get ready to go and he needed to prepare that year. Okay. Well, he didn't like the message. He thought it was inappropriate in front of all his followers. And I said, look, this isn't me. I don't take responsibility. I'm giving, they're telling me for you to prep because this is going to happen in about a year, you know. And his wife, who was much younger than him, by the way, took it to heart. So that year she planned everything and got it, and he did pass away. And she called me after he passed and said, look, I wasn't allowed to talk to you because he was so angry with you, but I wanted to thank you because I took care of everything. And so it's, you know, it blows me away what comes in readings.
That's
And I've heard everything from everybody. Nothing surprises me, but I'm really there to serve. You know, what do you need to tell this person? What do they need to know? And you know, most of my readings are people that have lost people. So I deal with a lot of grief with loss.
So, and I think people are afraid to talk about it because they think it might happen sooner if they talk about it. But we know that's not true.
Right. Right. And I think what it is they may not want to hear. A lot of people go in denial when death is around. They're in denial. But some part of them wants the answer, you know. And I tell people this. This is a fact too. There's different exit points. You just don't have one exit point. You know, you might have 20, you might have 5, you might have 50. You know, there are some people with 9 lives. We know a lot of people like that, right? But there are different exit points. So I tell them this is the exit that they're looking at right now, but they can decide to change that when that gets closer. But this is their exit. Or I look at somebody, I'm like, no, they're going. They're going to be gone.
Well, you had talked about when somebody dies, that our chakra system plays a role in those exits.
That's
Can
right.
you talk a little bit about that?
You know, I was thinking about this morning when I was meditating, because it blows me away how how our bodies and how the system is all set up. It's like God was so incredibly smart, okay? Or spirit, whatever you want to call your truth. But you know, when a baby's born, you have that soft spot on the head when they're born. That's where the soul enters the body when the baby's born, okay? And then the body heals itself, it closes up like it never happened. You know, it's amazing. But when you die, you have 7 chakras. And in your system, from your root, your sacral, your solar plexus, your heart, your throat, your third eye, your crown. And what happens when you die is you actually exit one of those chakras. And if they're blocked, it takes you longer to leave. So I do assist people when somebody's dying. They said, hey, can you help my mom leave? She's stuck. And I tell them this: if I help, they're going to go. You know, do you really want me to do this? Because, and then I have to be ethical and I check on that. And I was shown this technique by the Council of 12, which is a spiritual group in the ethers. It's very light. But I don't show this technique to anybody because it's a lot of, it can be karmic. So I don't use it that often, but there's techniques where you can help people leave their bodies, you know, if they're suffering. But they're chakras, and all your chakras are always spinning clockwise if they're healthy. If they're not spinning, that means they're not healthy, and they can't actually exit that easily. It's an example like if you have a heart attack, most people come out of their heart. You know, they shoot out. So if somebody dies quickly, they shoot out one of their chakras. And they don't split it up. So it's like one chakra. They come out of one chakra. It's not like you just walk straight out of your body. It actually, chakras are portals and they come out like light beams. You are a light beam. When you come out, you are light. You can actually see it. You come out of your body, you shoot out of your body.
In one of our earlier conversations, I forget if it was a death cafe, but somebody talked about her family members being around a family member who died, and they saw like a spiral of light leave the body. And it wasn't just one person, but like 3 of them saw it. Yeah.
And that's exactly it. It's a lot. I remember one time I coughed and I saw my light come out for a minute and then it went back in. I'm like, wow, that's cool. I wasn't having a heart attack or anything, but I actually saw my light, you know? So yeah, it spirals out. And it can shoot out really quickly. Now, a lot of times when somebody is passing, there are already people from the other side in their room with them because love takes away fear. Okay, so when they transition, there's already people there that they love that they can walk away easily. Okay, and then they go into the tunnel, like everybody talks about the tunnel, and that's actually just the transportation. You know, like a train, you take that to get to the heavens, and so you go that way with your loved ones, and they usually, if somebody you know, they're already there with you, and people tell you that all the time. Hey, Uncle Joe's here, or Aunt Betty, or Dad's here, or Mom, or you know, my brother. And that's because love dispels fear, and they escort them to the other side.
That's
And
a comforting thought. Yeah.
or they're floating above their body. Sometimes you know, because there's so many variables to this. Sometimes you leave your body and you're floating above it, looking down before you actually leave. But you also are all your senses are heightened. I don't care how much morphine you're on, okay? All your senses are heightened, right? So you can feel, even if you're asleep, you can feel people in the room, you know, because people always ask me, did they know I was holding their hand? Did they know I came to see them? Or they're like, I left and they passed after I left. I'm like, people who pass after you leave, it's because they couldn't leave you while you were there. You had to leave the room in order for them to leave because it was too hard for them to leave you. It's true. and then, once you leave your body, you go up. And I tell people the first place everybody goes is an energy hospital. And you go in there and you recover, depending on how tragic your sickness was, or if you had a quick passing. The first place you go is to this energy place. There's no doctors or nurses, but you have your guide with you. And you do have like a TV that you look at. It's like and it's not a TV, but the only way I can explain it, where they can see things going on Earth.
So
Go ahead.
that's the life review time?
No, not the life
No?
review. No, they do that after they recover. So once they recover, the next place you go to is orientation. And then that point, you go through your life review. I had a friend die. This happened, this was so amazing. I had two friends that, my best friend's brother died at the same night that my sister's best friend's husband had a heart attack and died. And he was inquisitive. He was the most loving person you'd ever meet. He cooked for his family. He would wait on everybody. He was just the most loving soul. And then the other one, my best friend's brother, was a severe alcoholic. So I thought, wouldn't it be interesting to check on how these two polar opposite people are doing, souls are doing in the energy hospital? My friend's brother was in a fetal position. And it looked like he was there for 6 months our time, even though there's no time over there. And my other friends, my sister's best friend's husband, I get there, he goes, "What took you so long?" So he actually educated me on the process of death. He's the one that says, this energy hospital, then you go to orientation. And I go, "I want to go." "You can't go there." And he said, "That's where you do your life review and you decide what you need to do. And you take it from there." And he even said to me, and some people may not agree to this, but there is no hell. There's different levels of heaven, and you vibrate at the level you are, and you go into that level, and you move up, and you decide to reincarnate, or you go to different places. We're not the only place that this is like a school. We come here to learn, and this is basically kindergarten. Okay, we're in a kindergarten planet. We're not in one of the most advanced planets. It's a very it's very dark and very light. So this is kindergarten. We're in the basic training wheels. So
well, there is so much fear and uncertainty, especially when we think about our own deaths. Is that part of what we're here to learn about?
well, I think I think it's death as graduation. I don't see it as an ending, because you don't die, and you're still you. Everybody I read, they're the same personalities. They're doing the same thing. They smoke, they drink, play golf. I give those to the people so that they can validate that's that person. And it's probably more elaborate than that. I think people have fear of death because they don't know, or they're afraid of the pain. I mean, I have a little bit of that fear. Like, I don't want pain when I die. I can handle all of it because I know what I'm going to, but I'm like, I don't want the pain.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with people, whatever your beliefs are, because I think it's so personal. You can be religious, you can be spiritual, you may be atheist, you might not even believe in God. Do you know what I mean? But I always say this: if you believe in yourself, you're believing in God, because God's part of you. So I do feel, but I also know not every person that's passed on that I've talked to, there was always somebody there waiting for them. Somebody they knew that they loved, that they trusted, were willing to take them into the light and cross them over.
Wow.
Now, rare occasions, now this happens too, and I have to mention this. There are people who don't go to the light. And that's what we call ghost entities, people that are stuck, earthbound entities, angels. I mean, people get stuck. And that can be very dangerous, because the more you are on earth, the darker you get and more confused you get. And you become like a gray matter. Your light dims. So I cross a lot of those where, hey, you're stuck, you need to go. And the number one reason people don't cross over is they don't feel they deserve it.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're not afraid of it. They don't feel they deserve it. They're afraid of the love.
Huh.
Self-punishment.
Oh.
Yeah. So I do a lot of crossings where, people are stuck in houses or they have hauntings. So it's because they're stuck. And then you can open that portal, and as soon as you bring somebody in they love, they go.
Mm-hmm.
How I do it. I just hold the space and bring in. It's like watching a movie for me.
Well, how about when people have dreams about loved ones who have died? Are they actually
Dreams.
being visited?
They're visitations. They're not dreams. They're actually coming to see them. And there's a time at night. It's called the golden hour, 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. And it's because the bell is thinner, and it's where the loved ones can come in and give messages. Hey, I'm okay. But you know, a lot of times they come in dream time to heal you because they're in a better place. They
Mhm.
don't need any help. So they're coming in to help you. And what I was saying earlier is a lot of times when people are so grief stricken because we're grieving that you're not with that person. You know, that's really the loss of the separation because they're in a different place. It's a different form. But our loved ones actually come, this is not always, but most of the time they come and stay with you for 7 or 8 months or until they feel that you can handle the grief, that you can move forward.
7 or 8 weeks?
7 or 8 months.
Oh, months. Wow.
Yeah. And then there's other people that die and they're totally gone and they're not even there. Like you don't feel nothing whatsoever. They're completely gone. They didn't want to be here. They're out of here. I see that a lot with older people. They're like, I did my time. I did everything. I went the hell out of here. I'm ready to go to the next, like defending your life, like that
Yeah.
movie. They're going on, you know, the cart and they're, you know, they're going to where they need to go. So, but a lot of people feel the people around them, or they can feel them walking in their house or their breeze, or they can smell them, you know, or feel them laying next to them. So that happens.
Yeah, I actually, well, before we came on, and people who have been on these sessions during the festival, I shared about my friend Gary who died the night after he died. And I found his body in the bathroom, crumpled on the floor. But he was on hospice for like 3 months. So it wasn't like a surprise, but you know, when it happens, you just
Feel hard, yes.
yeah, yeah. But I had a dream where he visited me. He looked great. He was wearing a golden suit and he didn't say anything, but he was smiling.
And you know why they do that, Gal? They want you to know they're okay, you know, and that he's still with you because love keeps us together. I don't care where, I mean, they are never going to, love is everything, and we're all connected. I couldn't do readings if we weren't connected, you know, and he wanted you to know he's still with you. He loves you very much. He's with you. He's still with you. He loves you so much.
He never believed in an afterlife, but I,
Well,
I
just
thought,
now,
yeah. It's like, surprise.
he does now, and he's showing you he's in gold. Gold is the highest vibrational color that you can be in. So that's good karma there.
That's
You
great.
know? Yes.
Glad to hear it.
And my condolences. I'm so sorry.
Thanks. You know, we're doing all the practical things, the obituary in the paper and having a memorial service, cleaning out his house. But it's nice to get a message like that.
Yes. And he's still with you. And he's actually he's very quick-witted, very smart man. So he's all around you. He's taking care of you. And he said, if you weren't doing this, what else would you be doing? You know?
Yeah.
So he's definitely with you. And you know, now you have personal experience with this, which is going to make it so deep for you.
Absolutely. So do you want to talk a bit about your Remembering One Once Again book?
I can. The book was written a while ago, and they told me I was going to write a book. I actually was walking in my laundry room. I was arguing with spirit, like, you know, why can't things be easier in life? You know, what the hell? It's got to be easier. And the message I got was not playing with a full deck. You know, and I'm like, what? Really? Now I'm really angry. And it said the only choice you have on this earth is you're going to learn through joy or pain. That's your only choice. You're going to learn what you need to, but do you want to learn through joy or do you want to learn through pain? And I said to the voice, I'm like, well, I want to learn through joy. How do I do that? And then those 12 principles came in with the subheadings on how to learn through joy. And I was bawling my eyes out. I was writing so fast I couldn't figure out all my writing, and I knew it was a big deal what was happening. So I sat down and rewrote everything, and then when the right time, because I was right in the middle of producing a conference, and you know what that's like. And
Yeah.
so when I was done with that, that's when he said, "Okay, let's begin." And I go, "Begin what?" He goes, "We're going to write the book." And William is part of the Council of 12. And the reason he came to me is because I have a place I go in meditation all the time. And it's like a courtroom. And I have a woman who sits on this high desk thing. I guess I need structure, okay? And I know you can create anything in meditation, but she's like there giving me answers. And she's never been wrong with anything. And I don't always like the messages. So I know I'm not making it up, you know? So I think William was part of that council, and he heard me go in there complaining about how difficult it would have been. And he came in to channel the book. And what was really cool, it took me a year and a half to write it. And then, you know, you have to edit and do all that work. It's a lot of work. But once the book was done, I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning the next morning, and my whole room was white.
Wow.
And it's William's energy in my room.
Wow.
And then I watched it morph and change, and then it went out the window and everything turned black because it was still dark out. It was 5 o'clock in the morning. Yeah,
Wow.
it was wonderful. And I bawled my eyes out, you know, like a little girl. And, you know, but I love him. We have a relationship. And he's like a monk. He looks like a monk with the whole, you know, dress outfit and the hood, and wears a little rope around his waist. And, you know, very simple, but he's extremely intelligent. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, so I hope to write another book soon. You know, if that comes in, I'm open to it, but I'm not going to force it. You know, I do write, but I believe in the process of allowing things to happen the way they need to.
Yeah. So, hey, we got a question in the chat.
Okay.
Could you address suicide deaths?
Well, I absolutely can tell you this personally. Okay, my nephew killed himself a month ago. So
Oh,
I just went through this, and it was really difficult. None of us saw it coming. And this is the deal. I believe this and this is even for my nephew. And I was with him all the time. And you think if anybody would have got it, I would, right? I didn't get it. But I know this, and I've been talking to him. The people that commit suicide are gonna go. They don't share it with anybody. They don't tell you they're suicidal. They've been planning it. It's not something they just randomly say, "Oh, I think I'm going to do this today." It's something they've been thinking about for a while, and they're in so much pain they don't feel they have any other option. Okay. Now, when you do that, and I went right in the room after the coroner came out and they did the medical exam and took his body because I was at my sister's. I felt nothing. He was gone. He didn't want to be here. So the other thing you need to know too, there is no hell. So it's not like you die and you go to hell because you committed suicide. Okay. What it is you have to do your review. And I do think there's some, um, you know, you have to account for that in whatever way that means. I don't know because there's so many variables. But I do know that the people that do commit suicide, that they wanted to. And I also feel like there's accidental overdoses where people don't realize they're going to die, or they took um, the wrong medication, or they bought the wrong thing on the streets and it killed them. You know, and there's a drug right now, and it's not on the tip of my tongue,
fentanyl?
fentanyl.
Yeah.
You know, some things are so laced with that, and I get a lot of readings with people who have taken fentanyl, and they don't know they took it. Okay, but they're living a reckless life. So they do have choices in them. They know that they're not living well. Now, I will tell you this, most of the people that commit suicide don't regret it.
Hmm.
They don't. But they don't like the pain they're causing everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. It's you know, it's one thing to die, but to have a suicide, it takes it to a whole different level.
Yeah.
But you just work through that.
I actually, I'm also a certified funeral celebrant, and I wound up doing a service for a family. The mother had a long history of mental illness, and she had tried to die by suicide several times, and this time she was successful. And my role was to help people understand that mental illness is not a moral failing. And
Yes.
so, and what we wound up putting together was actually pretty creative and healing for the family. So
I love that. And
yeah.
it's not a failure. You know, it's like I'm living this personally right now with my sister. I've been there as much as I can. I'm like, this is nobody's fault. He chose to do this. And let me tell you, like Daniel, my nephew, he had everything lined out down to his passcodes and money and pink slips. He had everything in a Ziploc bag. He had a letter, and he texted himself that my sister got later on a message that he wanted her to have, but he didn't want her to have it until after he was gone. She was gone for a week in Bakersfield to see my mom. Came home that day. He knew she was coming home that day and decided, I'm going to do this before they get home. You know, so I really feel, and then mental illness, there's a lot of that. But I also believe that death isn't death, it's graduation, even if it's suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And I also feel like sometimes it's too hard for a soul to handle being here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or they just can't handle, they need to go. And I don't look at suicide um, as a failure. I just don't. I look at it, hey, they're just checking out earlier than they were supposed to. And maybe, even maybe that was part of their contract. You know, I don't know, because I think we contract everything.
What a contract? How does that work?
Well, I think the people that we meet or some of the things we do in life, I think it's part of our contract. Most spiritual leaders believe that everything's contracted, that things are already going to happen, just relax.
So when we're going to be born, we make an agreement that we'll do certain things?
Yes, correct. And that you come in with the same soul family, soul friends, soul groups. I don't think things are random. There's, you know, billions of people on the planet. How do you pick the people that you're with? I don't think it's random.
Hmm.
You know, and I think the people you're attracted to are the people you're supposed to be with. And everything's a lesson. It's a holy relationship. Everything is a holy relationship for you to grow. It's all about evolving. The main thing about being incarnated is evolving. Your soul's going to evolve and learn. So if you were, say you were African American in a past life, and um, you know, and you're coming, or I'm going to reverse it. Say you were a white person in a past life and didn't like African Americans. I think you're going to incarnate your next lifetime as an African American to learn how to love. I think it's all to learn how to love and to evolve. And I think it's a beautiful thing. And as I've gotten older, I've relaxed a lot. I'm like, it's going to play out the way it needs to, you know?
Mm-hmm. So can our loved ones influence what goes on here in the physical world?
I think we're being helped all the time. I think they're allowed to help us in certain things and not everything. So what they can help us with, and then there's other things that they can't. It's not like my loved ones can say, "Hey, Tammy, here are the lotto numbers."
Yeah,
You know,
that was
I wish they.
lottery numbers. That's yeah.
But I have people who call me for them, which I find ironic. Okay, but I'm like, if I had the lotto numbers, don't you think I'd play it? But so I think there's certain things they're not allowed to do, but they do help us a lot. And you know, I get a lot of time in readings like, and this is an instance, like they'll say, "Hey, um, Joe, you need to go get your knee checked or your heart checked. You need to go get that thing checked out right now before it becomes an issue."
Mm.
You know, so I do think they do help us from the other side as well. So I think they prevent accidents, or and they also help like troubled people who are having a tough time. I think they do help. And I also feel everything's relative. And this is even a bigger concept. I don't think there's good and bad. I think it's all a learning. This is where we're learning. So sometimes you have to go through the bad in order to wake up, you know? An example of that is O.J. Simpson. I don't think domestic violence was taken even serious enough until that situation happened. So she actually helped a lot of people from that day forward about domestic violence and abuse. I think it was taken more seriously after Nicole passed away. So I think sometimes things have to go relatively wrong in order for things to change.
Yeah. What else would you like to convey about the woo-woo side of death?
I don't think there's anything to be afraid of. I feel like everybody should really relax the fact that you really are taken care of and that we're really not alone. And that when you do go, there's somebody there waiting for you. And I'm excited about dying when I go. I mean, I'm not jumping to die right now, but
You've just been on a vacation.
I have,
Yeah.
and that was wonderful. But when you die, you get to do everything you love until you no longer love it. You know, so I read people in bars, I read people on golf courses who are doing hole-in-ones, I read people driving fancy cars, you know, I read people on the top of the highest mountain in the world, you know, or who are meditating with the Dalai Lama. I mean, it's who you just see all that and you're like, oh my God, there's nothing to be afraid of. And you become more wise and you're more loving, and it's just like all the people who've had near-death experiences. They say they don't want to come back. They have no desire to come back because what you do is you go into that pure light of love, you know, and they say, oh, it's not your time yet, you got to go back, and then they don't want to come back. I've even had people say on near-death experiences where their life was perfect here and they still don't want to come back because the energy is so loving. And it's like nothing we have. I mean, you know, it must be like the best drug you've ever been on, you know, and all the colors go bright and everything. So, you know, I don't feel that you have to be afraid of death. And I also feel like even with pain or if you have chronic sickness and you have a long term, I do feel like there's medications for all that. I'm like, I call it magic pills. Take whatever you need to feel better.
So one of the questions that came to my mind is if we're so afraid of death, how can we help people be less afraid of it? Just understanding about you're just going into love.
Well, I think it depends on their belief, because if they don't even believe in there's a God, you know, then that's gonna. But you can still convey it, and what you can do is say to them, you know, I use the term "there's loved ones on the other side." If you believe it or not, they're there, and they're going to be there to escort you. They're going to actually be in your room or your hospital room, and they will escort you out. They just do. They come in, the angels come, but it's mostly your loved ones who come initially because you've got to recognize somebody you know. And it takes all the fear away. And they actually reach out with their hand to take you. So I would tell if there's somebody on the other side that you miss, and then you can take away the spiritual and the God and say, is there somebody that you love that passed? Everybody has somebody that you love that passed, right? And they'll go, yeah, I do. And I go, well, they're going to be there to greet you when you go. They'll be the first person to come in. Or I'll tell them that, you know, I'll tell them who's going to be there to greet them. I'll get it in a reading. And they're, oh my God, they're there. And then, you know, or their dog. I'm like, some people have dogs.
Oh, animals.
Animals are big. So, you know, I had one client who was, and I didn't even know this, and this was so strange, but they had a turkey that they loved. And I said, your turkey, I know this is weird, but there's a turkey going to be there when you go to take you over into the light. And the guy fell apart bawling. Okay? He was so in love with that turkey. So, you know, and it came in. So when you can validate that there is a person or animal, and some people don't trust people, they only want animals. And there is doggy heaven, animal heaven world. They're all together. But they're also with the people that your family members they take care of, or they have your babies that you miscarry, or if you lost children, you know, people melt as soon as you tell them, hey, did you lose a child? Yeah, well, they're here, and they're going to be there when you go, and that's it. That's all you have to say to them.
Wow.
Because they're like, how do you know I lost a child? Because I see them, and they're here.
Yeah. I think the idea that we get to be reunited with our pets is a comforting thought.
You do. You know, from birds to horses to dogs to cat, they're all there. Love is, it's all about love. The form is irrelevant. So they come in and they're with you, and so who you're close to is going to be there. I mean, I have a lot of dogs that passed on. I can't wait to see all of them, you know. But I think that's, again, this is part of the connection, and we bring all that in. And animals can see the loved ones when they're coming to visit them in their home. They actually watch them.
Wow. So how about angels? What's the concept of angels? Are they people that we've known and loved? Are they?
There's some angels. I would say, for the most part, I'm going to say this: most angels are not incarnated. Okay, angels with wings. They're, you know, you have the archangels and higher dimensional angels. They're not incarnated. They're heaven's angels. They usually don't come to get you when you pass. It's usually loved ones. I think it'd be too much light. Actually, we're afraid of the light as much as we are the darkness. Truly. So I feel like the angels aren't ones to transport, but I do think they transport babies, and I've seen that a lot in readings, because babies don't have an issue with it, okay, because they're still pure. But angels aren't the transporters. They're usually there in the heavens and at the different levels that you go into. And I do feel that you get to meet them, and Jesus and Mary, whatever your belief system is. I think it's there. But I also feel like God's not a man standing in the heavens. I think it's a etheric, universal love vibration. I think it's all consuming, you know. And we're not like little ants going around in circles down here, okay? So we are really here to fulfill our contract.
And as you lay out in the book, that we're all part of a oneness.
We're part of everything that is. So when we do things, it reverberates to other galaxies. The Course in Miracles, which is my study, says that everything you think and do affects 1,000 people in every minute. And there's no neutral thought. You're either coming from love or fear in every minute. As much as I am psychic, I'm very spiritual. I can't do one without the other. Yeah, it just is my practice. It's like if I don't have the spiritual, I can't do the psychic stuff, because it makes me more neutral and more open to all the possibilities.
Would you like to take some questions?
I would love to take some questions.
Okay. Oh, can you talk about life on other planets?
Oh, wow. I think there's so many. I actually don't count them, but other life on other planets are more evolved than Earth. Okay, so there's other planets where they don't talk; it's all telepathy. Okay, and there's other planets where you actually read just nothing but love. I'm like, that's the place I want to go to. I just want to float on a cloud, lay around, do nothing all day, and be with total love. I think that would be great. And then there's other, and this is the thing too. There's other planets where you're not human. I mean, you're not human when you leave your body, but there's other places where you look like aliens or different creatures, but they're not scary or anything. I think we've incarnated in different forms. I think there's so much to it that I think would blow our minds. We only use 8 to 10% of our brains, so I don't think we can conceive it. But I think there's different planets, and I'm going to say there's over hundreds of planets that you can go to. And depending on where you're at and how you're evolving, and you know, and I don't want to judge it, we're in kindergarten here, okay? But you actually can decide with your guides, because you have spirit guides when you go on the other side after you do your life review, what you do. But what they tell me is as soon as you get there, you want to come back and learn again. And everybody I talk to is like, I'm never coming back here again. I don't want nothing to do with it. I'm done. You know, this is my last life here. You know, but you'll, once you get there, it's a whole different ball game. And the other thing you can do too is you can decide to be a spirit guide, because you have, everybody has spirit guides, and you can have and we have temporary and one permanent. So you can become a temporary guide for somebody that you've actually incarnated with. You can actually be their guide. I don't know if I'd want to do that, be babysitting. I think I wouldn't have the patience for it. But but you could actually decide to be a spirit guide for somebody.
Follow up on the planets. Are these planets known to scientists or astronomers?
No.
No.
And I'm a believer, if you think it, you can create it. And I have scientist friends who believe that. When you think it, you can create it, because we are the planet.
Okay.
Yes. Any other questions?
I just sent it to Gail, but if you've chosen to learn by pain, can you turn that around and learn by love while you're on Earth?
Absolutely. But you have to first get it through the pain if you're in the pain. You know what I mean? It's like getting burned touching the stove. If you do it once, you're not going to do it again, right? But sometimes you do. But, given an example, if you bring in bad relationships and somebody does something in a bad relationship, you may attract that until you no longer need it.
How do you clear yourself of that?
If you're awake enough to do that, the key is how many people are awake. How many people believe they even co-create their lives? Do you know what I mean? A lot of people feel that everything's done to them. They're not believing that they're co-creating their life. Because there's a saying, you either co-create every minute or you play a victim. Okay. So if you know you're co-creating, say, oh, wait a minute. This person didn't choose me. I chose them. You could have crossed the street and kept going, but you chose that person that you ended up with. And if there's a lesson in that, then you can say, oh, wait a minute, I'm attracting this. Okay, so let me heal the part of me that I'm attracting. I'll give you an example. This is personal. I used to always attract people with addictions. I mean, I was like a spot. My light would go on and they'd come in, right? This was years ago. And I finally I really was, I was repulsed by people who had addictions, but they always came to me. Then I realized, because I had past lives, I was an addict in a past life. So I decided to heal that addiction in me. And I never did it again. I never attracted. And I have a funny story around that. I have a friend that was very metaphysical, but she was a severe alcoholic. And she called me from the bar one night to pick her up. I had got off of work, and she's this tiny 5', 100-pound woman drinking at the bar. And I lived in Bakersfield, and if you walk out of the bar, they take you to jail. So she calls me and said, hey, can you come get me and take me home? And I was really upset that she was going to put me out, that I had to go pick her up and take her home. But I knew if I didn't, I would regret it, right? So I picked her up and had this tiny Miata car, and she reeked alcohol, and I could smell it, and I was upset about it, right? And she said, you're repulsed by me. I go, yes, I am. She goes, take me to Denny's. I need a coffee. I said, okay. So I took her to Denny's, and we're sitting at the bar, and she goes, you got to forgive it in yourself if you're going to love me. I'm like, I'm not ready to. So right then I heard this bang on the wall, and there was a homeless man drunk. And she goes, look, how much is it going to show up for you? Turn around and look at this guy banging on the window. And I got it. It was like, I totally got it. Like, how much louder can it get for me, right? So if you attract things over and over again, it means you have that in you. And a lot of people won't own that. And just say, I'm now willing to forgive and heal that part of me that I'm attracting in other people. Whatever you don't like in other people is in you. So if you don't like whatever, abusive, arrogant, self-centered, liars, whatever you really don't like, it's actually, there's only one of us here. So whatever you don't like in other people is your shit. So you just say, you know what, instead of learning the lesson, let me heal it within me. And that way you can stop bringing it towards you. Because every relationship is a chance to heal. I believe that.
We have a question from Annie.
Okay.
When you go elsewhere, are you still able to visit here? I.e., if my mother has moved on to another place, is she still able to be here with me?
Absolutely. Because they travel. So as soon as I go to read somebody, they come forward. They want to talk to their loved ones. Okay. And they probably can be in 2 or 3 places at one time. you know, but when I go in and do a reading, I bring in who you're wanting and you get closure, you get some clarity, and then they go on and do their thing. But yeah, and this is another thing too. This can be kind of mind-boggling. Okay, they can be reincarnated already, and you're reading them, but you'll go back to the place that you knew them. So that because it's all about healing.
Hmm.
So you know, because there is no time, and they're even saying if you get this or not, you're doing your past, present, future, lifetime at the same time.
Whoa, that's mind-boggling.
I know that, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, it just gets deeper. How deep down the rabbit hole do you want to go, right? So I just, there's so much, and I've learned this over doing all these readings. I learned this from my clients when I'm in session. And then sometimes I got to write this stuff down. I'm like, man, this is just crazy, right?
Yeah.
But they teach you. And yeah, you can read anybody. If it's something you need to heal, it'll come in.
So Cheryl asks, can you do readings between two souls who are still on Earth in bodies?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between mediumship and psychic reading. So a lot of people call me, am I going to end up with John? Or is Mary having an affair on me? Or am I going to have any kids? Am I going to get the job I want? How's my health? You know, so you can get the psychic readings. That's psychic. Yes, you can read about people on Earth too. And it's like you're going into the future to look at the possibility of what they're creating.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can read people on Earth too that are here. Or if they
Okay.
want to know about somebody, even their kids. I have people who call about their kids and want to know how their kids are doing. So yeah, that's psychic.
Oh.
I use my telephone or my, you know, my texting or.
That's right. That's exactly.
This world still works in certain ways.
Yes, and you know, and a lot of times, you know, people will call and the number one thing I see is relationships. I mean, because relationships are the most loving and difficult and convoluted and messy and wonderful and everything, you know. So a lot of people have issues in their relationships. I had the counsel tell me one time because I went in to ask a question about a relationship and I thought maybe I shouldn't be there. And she says, Tammy, all of the affairs of the heart are never trivial.
All the affairs of the heart
are not trivial.
Not trivial. Yeah.
It's a big deal.
So how do you visit with the council? Is that meditation?
Meditation. I actually have a process and I have guided meditations too if people are interested. I actually go in, I say a prayer. I always say a prayer before I meditate. And then I go up a flight of stairs and I go down the walkway and I brush the bushes because I like nature. And then I go through a gate, which is a protection gatekeeper. And then I rinse off in water. When you rinse off in water, you purify your etheric body. So I let go of everything in the water and I come out and I drain my chakras out and I fill myself with light. I do all that before I can go into the council because you can't go in there and purify because it's at a higher level. And I go in there all the time. And Gail, she's never wrong. She'll give me dates on things that'll happen and they friggin' happen all the
time. Wow. So when you talk about water, I think I remember hearing you say in one of our other sessions about the importance of water for clearing. So like soaking in water? Or?
You can't get enough water, okay? Like I'll shower in the morning and I have to literally take a bath at night from all my sessions, okay? Because water is not just physical cleaning, it's etheric cleaning. Okay. And then when I do it meditation, I go to I have a lake I swim in, clear water, or I stand under a waterfall and I just rinse off. And I also say this because I have so many wonderful guides. I have Einstein's my guide and Saya Baba. Yeah, I have some really incredible guides. And Anne Ray Colton, who's an incredible writer, if you ever look her up. But I always say this too when I'm clearing anything that's harboring my whole body being needs to leave now. So, because things can take harbor in your etheric body without you knowing it.
Like what?
And I cut cords. You can have attachments, entities. I can do readings where people's stuff is there and I don't know it. So I always say anything that's harboring my whole body being needs to leave. And Sai Baba taught me that. So he says, Tammy, you need to say whatever's harboring. And I love that because you know how boat takes harbor in the dock, it's just taking space, right? So some of this stuff is just taking space. So, and I have to constantly clean because I do a lot of etheric work. But water is the best purifier. I don't care if it's a tub, jacuzzi, shower, you know, with swimming. It is really a purifying thing.
I know
So if
soaking
you
in
can go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say soaking in the hot tub got me through this pandemic.
You know, a hot tub, there's nothing wrong with a hot tub, okay? It will get you through anything. And, you know, it relaxes the body, but it also clears. And I would also say, don't go more than 20 minutes.
Don't?
No.
Oh.
Because after 20 minutes, it starts taking away. It takes away the first, after 20 minutes, it becomes a deficit. So on the etheric body. So don't do more than 20 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, I set my timer for 40 minutes. So I guess I better cut it back.
Yeah, cut it back. And I know, hey, I love jacuzzi. So I'm with you on that. Yeah, I love that.
What about the ocean? Is it a cleanser?
The ocean's wonderful. The salt ocean is one of the best, purest things you can do. When I go to the ocean, I know this sounds kind of typical, but I take my crystals and I put them in the ocean.
Ah, to clean them.
Yes, to clean them. The ocean's one of the best purifying places you can go. Yeah. So yeah, ocean's great. Anything organic, the lake, the river, you know, a stream, all that is anything with water that's pure, you know. It's just such a great thing. And it does clear the body. And you actually feel more awake. I mean, when I take a shower at night or a bath, I feel more awake.
Except I want to go to sleep.
Oh, but you put sea salts. You know,
Ah.
you can put some lavender and some oils, you know, start playing around and mix it up. I like to play and you know, and I'm like a kid, I love the bubbles. So bring the bubbles. I don't have a rubber ducky, but I do bring the bubbles in. You know?
So what about have you seen the films of Wim Wenders with the angels, Wings of Desire, or?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, okay. The fascinating thing, this director's vision of angels are, you know, hanging around. We can't see them, but you know, they can see us, they can read our thoughts. And
yeah, the angels they're all helping us. But right now things are very dark and very light. Earth is very light and very dark. Okay. I would even say it may be tipping a little darker. But we'll get back in sync. And I feel the axle has been off its, you know, tilted off its degree.
Yeah.
The axle, the planet, it's tilted a little bit. But we're going to come back. But again, we have to go off because you got to know this. Mother Nature can't purify all the etheric energy from people right now. That's why we're having so many hurricanes and fires and all the, you know, disasters. It's because we're off a little bit. Again, it goes back, are we going to learn through joy or pain?
Is there some way that we as individuals can help the
wake up,
nature heal?
Wake up, take responsibility, love each other, take care of the planet, treat people the way you want to be treated. Know that there is no separation, that you're not this side and I'm not this side, that we're actually the same. You know, and you know, be okay with accepting somebody else's beliefs. Try not to change people, just love them for where they're at. And to realize you're not here to fix people, you're here to love them. Seriously. We're here to love and accept people for where they're at. It's not about fixing anybody. I don't think anybody has it more figured out than the next person, other than the people that are woke up. If you're awake, you can co-create. If you get that you're co-creating your life, that you're probably 10% of the planet.
What about those people who are so hard to love?
Well, then you can either hold them, you know, see them very infrequently and a little while, or you just can't take it personal. I have people in my life that are very difficult. My mother, but I love her for where she is. I don't try to change her, and I don't take it personally anymore. So I think you learn, just don't take it personal, that they're just not happy people. And you don't need to be somebody's punching bag or have them verbally abuse you. You just pull back and you have boundaries with it. And then there's some people outright that you should not even be around. I like the saying, you can't, you can't argue with crazy people. You can't make, you just can't. And if you take it personal, you go insane with them. So you just kind of pull back and say, I can't take this personal.
We had a session yesterday with a funeral educator named Todd Van Beck, who was talking of, the title was Grumpy, Cranky, Fussy, the Unspoken Symptoms of Grief. And that many of people who are like that are carrying around a grief that has not resolved, not been able to talk about it, or, if people knew what the pain was, maybe they'd be easier to get along with. You understand them better.
And you know what it stems from, Gal, is unforgiveness. They're not forgiving. What happens is when people don't do their work, they become victims. Everything's done to them. They become victims. They get in that lower frequency thinking. And what creates more victim energy is more victim things. So you co-create. So if you think you're a victim, you're going to create more things that you feel victimized by.
Now, you just mentioned lower energies. Can you talk a bit about these energy levels?
I think depression is the lowest one. And then there's then the victim energy, and then there's anger. Anger is actually a step above. So when people are angry, they're not depressed. They're acting out their feelings. And then, then you get to the point, if you wake up, you can say, okay, how can I feel better? And start changing and doing things differently. But the ultimate goal is to wake up. Because once you wake up and realize, because I know when I'm acting crazy, like if I'm not in my right mind and I'm mad, I know I'm mad. And I know I'm not in my right mind. I know I'm not acting right. And I know that I'm taking responsibility. And the thing I do differently is I don't act on it. I don't send the email or the chat or the text or call somebody out of rage. I work through it. So I think the ultimate thing is to wake up. And a lot of people don't wake up in this lifetime. They don't even realize that they co-created everything. And what happens when you're stuck in that, you expect other people to make you feel good. Anything external to feel better. And that's an ego thing. It's a quick fix and it doesn't stay. And then they end up getting into addictions because the pain's too hard. And they can't cope with death either.
They don't what?
They can't cope with the death.
Yeah. Of someone else, or the idea of themselves dying?
Both. They can't cope with somebody dying. They left them. Why did they leave me? I got to take care of everything now. Or they're like, they just put it off. They won't even deal with the death process.
In your book, William talked about ego versus, is it spirit or?
It's ego. It's ego versus love.
Versus love. Okay.
Because you're either in your ego or you're in your right mind, which is love. And when you're in your right mind because you have peace. If you want to know and kind of be mindful of where you're at, are you happy? Are you at peace? Do you feel good about things? Are your relationships? I love this saying, like I tell people, don't worry about what's going on in the White House. Worry about what's going on in your house. Well, you can't change that, but show up. And Marianne taught me this too. Show up for what's in front of you. If you show up fully what's in front of you, it multiplies. So if you love You know, and I learned the hard way with events when I did them. I was always concerned about the numbers. But if you show up fully for what's in front of you, it multiplies automatically. So you know, like in your home, you're showing up fully and loving the people that are in your home, and handling things properly.
So that's interesting because the like last year's festival, which was totally online,
Right.
um, you know, we didn't have a huge number of people there in person for the live event, but the video lives on and more people watch it online.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And you know what? And we're going through this change with COVID because we needed to. I mean, I mean, you got to look at the planet, look at all the stuff happening. You know, it was a wake up call.
Yeah. Having everybody stay home for so long and
Yes.
think about, is this what you want to be doing with your life? And yeah.
It put things back to basic, right? And then how many, and also collectively, all the millions of people that have died. I mean, wrap your head around that. All the people that passed on with COVID. I have one lady call me, she lost 6 members of her family.
Oh no.
And only 2 were left. And she drove each one of them to the hospital not to see them again.
Oh.
And I also think that's contracted. I really do.
So that we learn something from this?
I think you learn something, and maybe, and also they may have finished out what they needed to do in this lifetime. And all those 6 people that died, they may not have been able to live without each other.
Hmm.
You know how one person dies and 2 months later the other one dies? I think those 6 people could not live without each other. They were that close.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also have this Alzheimer's,
Mm-hmm.
dementia. And what that is they're too afraid of death, so they check out before they check out.
Oh, wow.
So they're not present with their passing. There's too much fear around it. Or they have issues with aging. I know a lot of people have issues with aging, they don't want to age. So they just check out.
Oh, interesting.
Because
Yeah.
I think everything's emotional. I don't think it's all physical. I think we bring everything in an emotional level based on what our fears and what we can handle and not handle.
And given how medical care has evolved and we're living longer,
Yes.
but the indignities of aging then come to visit. And so you're saying that's a way of mentally dealing with it. It's like, I'm checking
Yes,
out.
that's right. They're checking out before they check out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it's too, they can't handle it. They're too afraid of it.
Yeah. And then,
I believe that.
huh. And then the family members that are caring for them, that's such a heavy burden though.
It's a heavy burden and it's hard, you know, but I also you do the best you can. And I think I have such compassion for caregivers because it's so consuming and it's very difficult, you know. But I think it's part of the process. I really think it's all part of the process. And I notice a lot of people that have Alzheimer's or dementia are not awake people.
Hmm.
They're not awake spiritually.
Mm-hmm. So we've talked a lot in this festival about funeral services, memorial services, disposition methods.
Okay.
Is there anything, you know, about how we in America approach funerals that connects with the woo-woo side of death?
I think there needs to be more celebration of life and not so structured. You know, like I'm a believer. I talk to the person before they go and find out what their wishes are. You know, I'd like to sit on the beach and celebrate somebody's passing and set off fireworks. You know, or have some kind of ceremony where people will sit down and write their best memory of somebody and everybody shares a story. You know, or videotape the person before they go. I just feel like find out what their wishes are. You know, I saw a series on HBO that was so fascinating about passing, and they had where they buried people out in the woods and they decomposed, or they had assisted, where they assisted them in their death cycle, um, or they set them off in a rocket to the sky, their ashes. So I think there's so many ways you can celebrate, and I don't think we've tapped into all of that. I think we're it needs to be more open. The
A
way
little more creative. Yeah.
more creative and not so structured, you
Yeah.
know, and get out of the box a little bit. I think the best funeral I went to was where we blew off fireworks in the street, and we partied all night, barbecued and partied. To me, that was the best celebration, one of the best funerals I went to. But I think it's a very personal thing, and it really isn't there. I know you're celebrating the person that passed on, but it's really there to heal the people left behind.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's other people who aren't even prepared to handle doing the service, and I think it's a timing issue too. It needs to be done at the time when people can handle it.
Yeah. And the whole thing with COVID, that postponed so many funerals, and funeral directors overwhelmed, that they got to schedule things way out from the original
Right.
death date.
Right. Well,
Uh,
and that's still happening.
mhm.
Like when my nephew died, it took them 3.5 hours to send a medical examiner to the house, and we couldn't touch anything. They had us, everything blocked off because she's so busy with COVID.
Yeah.
So all the hospitals are still full with COVID patients, and
Yeah.
people. So I don't think we're going to come out of this for another year. So just
Oh,
saying, okay, yeah. But I think it's going to get lower and lower. But I think it's going to take another year.
well, and the winter is coming, and
And there might be another variable,
yeah.
you know. But I think it's a personal choice of what you decide to do. I don't think I don't try to tell people what to do. I just do what you feel is best for you. To me, it's common sense, you know. But I think we're still learning through COVID. I don't think we're quite done with it.
Oh boy.
And I get another year, gal. Maybe another year till April. So maybe a year and a half,
Well,
where the numbers start just, where it's not such an issue.
and who knows about the flu? And do you think disease is a reflection of our spirituality or mental states?
I think disease is emotional sickness that we
Ah.
haven't processed. And part of that healing is chakra clearing. But people that are not awake don't know what chakra clearing is, or prayer work, or cleansing, and taking accountability. But I do feel part of. I think all illness is unresolved emotions.
Hmm. Yeah, didn't Marianne Williamson teach that too?
Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
And she's Course in Miracles based, which is my study too. So all emotions is sickness is unresolved emotions that got stuck in the body and you didn't deal with it.
Mm. How can you deal with that?
Well, you have to first recognize you need to heal it. And that's why I said you have to be awake. You can do forgiveness work and forgive yourself and the people around you. You got to forgive you too, but the people that you need to forgive around you, situation, person, place, or thing. And until you let that go, it'll eat at you. So whatever you can't let go of, it means you need to heal it, forgive it, find a way. Say, and the thing the course says, I love it. Says, as soon as you say, I'm willing to forgive this, even though I don't want to, it starts to change it.
Starts to
So,
resolve. Wow.
do you want to be right or do you want to have peace? Do you want to be right or do you want to be healed? My thing is, I want to be healed. I want to have peace. I don't need to be right.
Hmm.
And you can heal it now, or you can do 20 years from now.
Hmm.
I had a lady that worked for my sister when she lived in Oregon. Her son was pushed on the train track in San Francisco when he was 18 and died. And she wasn't willing to heal that 20 years later.
Wow.
And she said, I grieve. I don't celebrate any holiday. I won't do anything. I'm angry, and I'm going to grieve in anger.
Hmm.
And I said, you're doing a disjustice to your son. because you're staying stuck. And her identity was pain.
Mm.
So there's some people who just don't want to heal, and they get their identity in their pain, so they don't know anything different.
And then they don't want to change.
They have no desire to change.
Yeah.
But you're not a happy person, you know.
And probably not making the people around you happy.
That's right. You know, so if people aren't staying in the room, you might want to look at that. Right? So yeah, I think it's all relative, and I think if we just are responsible for our journey and to look at what we're doing, and you know, like you're serving your purpose. You're doing something bigger than your story. That's why I like doing my work, because it takes me out of my story.
Mm-hmm.
And that way I'm not the small Tammy, I'm doing something that's bigger than me. You know, it gives value, and I've learned so much. I mean, I thank God every day I get to do this for a living, you know, it makes me better. It forces me to be better, actually.
So what message would you like to leave our viewers and audience visitors?
Well, first I want to thank you for having me on, and your helpers, because I know how much it takes to do this. So thank you. I would tell everybody to really check with yourself, and be mindful of, like, am I living authentically? Am I co-creating the life I want to live? Am I resolved any unhappiness? You know, show up fully for what's in front of you. Do your forgiveness work with yourself. If you're living in the past or the future, you're in fear. You know, so get back to the moment where you can co-create. And you know, I have a chakra CD on forgiveness. It's a chakra clearing combination forgiveness. That's really good. Um, and that helps to move forward with your life and start clearing your home and taking your baths. And, you know, do things that make you laugh. You know, life doesn't have to be so intense and serious. Be playful. You know, have fun. Go hike or go draw or paint and do things that are creative. Play music and dance. And, you know, do things that make you happy. It doesn't always have to be a duty. You know, they say we take life too seriously and we need to play more. You know, that's why I took this vacation. I'm like, hint, hint. You need a vacation, right? So, and I haven't taken a vacation in 7 years. So I needed to. And I thought I was going to miss working. I didn't miss it at all. I was so happy to take that vacation. I'm like, what work? You know, but I had a really, you just have to enjoy life too. It has to be balanced.
Yeah. So the CD you mentioned, is that at your website?
It's you can go to my website, TammyJHolmes.com,
TammyJHolmes.com. Yep.
or they can email me at holmes.tammy85 at Yahoo. And my son is a music prodigy, so he's done all my meditation music. He can play every instrument but horns by ear. He's amazing. He's been playing music since he was 5. But he has done all the guided meditation music. So I have a chakra clearing, past, present, future, manifesting CD, and I also have a class on development of psychic abilities. So that's a 6-series class if you're interested in doing that. I have a few people taking that, and that's as a download. So I have different things to offer to help people co-create or be playful or clear, that can really help you. And the chakra CD is one of the best things because you can use it every day and get yourself clear, and you purify. And the thing about purify, when you purify, you elevate your frequency, so you raise your vibration, so your life gets easier without you trying hard. It's like you start raising your vibration and you become higher, and the things that used to attract to you don't attract anymore.
Oh, we can all use that.
Exactly. And then the course calls it don't be in the battlefield, rise above the battlefield, because that's where the victim and hard stuff is, in the battlefield.
Yeah, and you get perspective when you get up higher.
You do, and things don't affect you. It just drops off of you.
Mm.
You know, you play a higher level, and that's where we all should be. We should, it's like a saying, be in the eye of the storm, don't be the storm.
Mm. Wonderful advice. Tammy, thank you so much.
You are welcome, and I've loved it. And I loved your group, and you guys all have a beautiful afternoon. Keep doing the work you're doing. I'm so proud of you. You know that. I just love what you do.
Oh, thank you, Tammy. And I treasure our friendship and
I
so
do.
glad.
I do
Yep.
too.
Obviously, we were meant to
We
get
were.
together.
We were. And you know, we're soul sisters, right?
Soap sisters?
Soul sisters.
Soul sisters, yes.
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 Yes. And my condolences with the loss of your friend.
Oh, thank you. You've actually yeah, helped with that message about him visiting me.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.